But, Minister, as far as Sooey National School is concerned, what I want to raise with you is the issue of the provision of one or perhaps two ASD classes in Sooey National School, which is located in County Sligo. It's one of those schools that's a major success because as a rural national school, it has grown from 12 pupils in 1998 to 117 pupils in 2023. So that's pretty astonishing, and really it speaks for itself in terms of the excellence of the quality of the teaching and the education, and indeed the huge community support. And I suppose it's in the context of that community support that we see that over 2 years ago, when a field behind the school became available, was put up for sale, the local community came together and decided to purchase that field so that it could be used for community purposes and for the school itself. And indeed, with the patience of the person who was selling it, that will be paid off over a period of 8 years. So the point I'm making here is this is a whole community effort. Now, in the meantime, the National Council for Special Education contacted all of the schools in County Sligo and asked them could they provide ASD classes in their school by September 2024. And even though there are no pupils right now in Sooey National School who require this service, nonetheless, the school responded to this request and they said, yes, we would be very happy to support children with autism from the locality. And they immediately drew up an application, sent it to the Department of Education under the Additional Schools Accommodation Scheme for a GP room and 2 ASD suites. That application was sent in last February. The principal contacted the department several times post-February, but heard nothing back. Last September, the CNO contacted the principal to ask how the new build was progressing, because they assumed that everything was going ahead. But of course, nothing was happening. Subsequent to that, several meetings took place, and it was made very clear by the CNO that there was a real need for 2 ASD classes in Sooey. Subsequently, the Department Building Unit contacted the school and they offered them a modular building. That's all they offered them. And what they told the school to do was to put a mainstream class into the modular building and rearrange a mainstream classroom as a classroom for an ASD classroom. There was no hall, there was no ASD suite, no sensory room. In fact, Minister, no proper facilities at all for autistic children. Now, subsequently, the Board of Management looked at the proposal from the department and said that it would be completely unfair to offer children with autism a classroom and nothing else for their full-time education. And while they will be willing to manage with a modular unit while an ASD suite is being built, they will not accept that without the further commitment to an ASD suite. So if you could give me an update on that, Minister, I'd be very grateful.
Minister O'Brien, thank you for being here to deal with this.
Thank you, and thank you, Deputy, for raising this matter, as it provides me with an opportunity to clarify the position in relation to the Department of Education's planning for school accommodation for children with special education needs, and specifically in relation to the application for additional accommodation made by the Sooey National School in County Sligo. The Deputy may be aware that Sooey National School is a Catholic primary school. The school had an enrolment in September 2022 of 120 pupils and in September 2023 of 117 pupils. In September 2023, the school has 1 teaching principal, 4 mainstream class teachers and 2 special education teachers. The school is in the Coola Cross School Planning Area. There are currently 7 primary schools and 1 post-primary school in the school planning area. The Deputy may also be aware that a building project for the provision of 1 mainstream ensuite classroom, 1 special education teacher room, along with assisted users WC, was completed in Sooey National School in 2021. The school submitted a further additional school accommodation, or ASA, application to the Department of Education in February 2023, requesting funding for SEN accommodation, outdoor classroom, all-weather pitch, staff and bus parking, and a general purpose room. The purpose of the ASA scheme is to ensure that essential mainstream and special education classroom accommodation is available to cater for pupils enrolled each year, and where the need cannot be met by the school's existing accommodation or by available accommodation at other schools in the area. General purpose rooms are outside the scope of the ASA scheme. The Deputy will be aware that the Department has broadened its delivery streams and is utilising modern methods of construction, including modular accommodation as well as traditional construction delivery methods. Modular accommodation has particular advantages in terms of overall timelines and also climate impact, and they do not generally have a reliance on fossil fuels. In overall terms, it is important to have a range of delivery mechanisms for delivering school accommodation to support the current very strong and ambitious rollout of school building projects. This is of particular relevance given the overall challenging construction sector market. A number of factors are considered by the Department of Education in determining the most appropriate construction method to meet a school's accommodation requirements, including the timing and duration of that accommodation need and other school-specific factors. Furthermore, the Department continues to undertake forward planning in relation to meeting the accommodation needs of increasing demographics at post-primary level. In addition, the Department also works very closely with the National Council for Special Education in relation to forward planning for increased special education provision in the form of additional special classes and special school places. In planning and providing for additional school accommodation, the Department must also have regard to construction inflation pressures and competing demands on suppliers of modular accommodation and project management services. In response to these challenges, both in terms of demand for accommodation and costs, the Department must prioritise spending and seek to achieve value for money in line with the Public Spending Code and the NDP framework. In general, demographics have been falling at primary level and are due to continue to decrease. Therefore, the Department considers it prudent to maximise the use of existing spare accommodation capacity at primary level in the first instance before considering any applications for further accommodation needs. In relation to the provision of primary special classes, the shared preference of both the Department and the National Council for Special Education is to use and reconfigure existing school accommodation to provide special classes. Officials in the Department of Education have been engaging with Sooey National School regarding its application for additional accommodation. A previously proposed solution was not agreed by the school, and the Department is now reconsidering the requirement for additional accommodation in the context of any wider opportunities to meet the need for special classes in the area. Thank you.
Harkin.
Thank you, Minister. I've had a look through your response there. You tell me that back in 2021, a new mainstream ensuite classroom and special education teacher room, etc., was completed at Sooey National School. That's absolutely correct. They got rid of their prefabs, and basically what the department are asking them is to now go back to having prefabs, having modular buildings in the school. I mean, Minister, they're not going to accept that. You also tell us that modular accommodation has advantages in terms of overall timelines. Yes, you're absolutely right. It is faster. But the question is, does it provide an adequate service or suite for autistic children? You talk about demographics are falling at primary level, and that may be true generally, but I just told you a few minutes ago that Sooey National School, the numbers have increased from 12 to 117 in the last 25 years. So you can't use that as a reason, I won't say as an excuse, I'll just say as a reason not to ensure that there's a proper building for autistic children that will serve their educational needs. Now, you do say that the department is reconsidering the requirement for additional accommodation in the context, you say, of any wider opportunities to meet the needs for special classes in the area. I'm not really sure what that means. I do hope it means that the department is engaging with the Board of Management and the principal in Sooey National School, who are ready, willing and able to provide 2 new ASD classrooms. They've provided the land already, if the department will work with them. Sooey is just 13 kilometres from Sligo town. It's closer to Collooney, Ballygawley, Ballisadaire, Ballintor, Riverstown, and there is a real need for these classes. Sooey is the ideal location. Minister, you have it on a plate so far if you just work with the Board of Management.
Minister, please to conclude, would you?
Thank you, Count, and thank you, Deputy. So as I've outlined, the Department has been engaging with the school regarding its application for additional accommodation. While the provision of a general purpose room is outside the scope of the additional school accommodation scheme, the Department has liaised with the school regarding the potential provision of accommodation for children with special education needs. And as Deputy would appreciate, the provision of school places, including for children with special education needs, is a priority for the Department of Education and the NCSE, and the Department will continue to work to ensure that there are sufficient special classes available to meet the needs of pupils in the Coola Cross school planning area and across County Sligo. I suppose, Deputy, as is the case very often with topicals that we take, we learn a lot more when the Deputy presents the case in a little bit more detail as well, and I suppose you've laid out some of the detail that I wasn't aware of there that I can take back to the responsible Minister as well.
Thank you, Minister. The fourth item